Welcome to the greatest YouTube show on planet Earth.
Here we are.
Our claim to fame.
I feel excited, TK. It's like,
what's going on?
I don't know. I was excited to finally do the show today. Like,
I'm nervous.
It's a weird time again. It's a weird time again. Why are we doing it today, by the way? Did you sell something? Are you busy?
I'm fortunately busy. But,
fortunately busy? Why you say it like that?
I wouldn't say I'm selling everything. Like, it's like, but there's definitely a lot of listings coming up. Like, I feel like what we've been talking about with these listings coming up, they're coming.
Every agent is like, I have a couple of listings like ready to go. Like, I have a couple in my back pocket. I have a couple of people ready to list.
Yeah. And that's definitely true.
Is that definitely true? Everybody's got a couple of people ready to list?
There's people now who are deciding. The sellers are all saying, now is the time. I want to get on. They heard that the prices went up a little bit. Thanks for watching and tuning in. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We really appreciate it. If you're listening on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, or any one of those other podcasts, drop a review. Let us know what you think. Helps us reach more people, and we appreciate you guys watching and listening today.
Yeah, and if you're like me and you have ADHD of some form and you can't handle us in these giant long bursts and doses, we've cut it down to little mini clips where we actually, I think, sound much more intelligent, TK. So if you can only handle us in limited doses, go check out the Canadian Real Estate Show Clips channel, also on YouTube. Killing it.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Now, just do it.
They heard maybe they can get a little bit more for their house now. Maybe they can get that price that they've been hoping for, because this price, I mean, they just pulled it out of nowhere. It was like, this price, this is it. This is the price that I'll sell for. Where did the price come from, Darryl?
Who's saying that? Who's doing that?
Everybody says that. This is what the sellers do. They said, I have a price.
I have a price? It's
not
based on...
Where did this price come from?
Really? And this is what's happening?
It happens always. This is the age-old debate between listing agent and seller.
But I thought that we just list it low and see what happens. No?
Please provide me the information where this price has come from. Please explain to me why your neighbor's house, 500 square feet bigger, with more renovations on a better lot, right? That's sold last week.
Is worth less than yours.
Is worth less than your house. Just tell me what I need to tell the buyers. I just need to know what I need to do so that I can go out there and say to the buyers, guys, have you seen this staircase?
Right. Like, what am I missing, right?
Behind this staircase. When you walk up that staircase, it doesn't make a sound. Okay.
Do you understand that their Uncle Paolo built those railings?
Do you know who Paolo worked for?
Do you know who Paolo?
Do you know what kind of houses
was?
Paolo was working down in Rosedale? Okay.
Look at how quickly we just went off the rails there. Right? This is
but this is what it is, though. So I think that's what it is. So people are sparking those conversations. They're calling their agents and saying, "Hey, is it a good time to sell? What do you think? Is this a good time?"
I don't know. I'm hearing it's a great time to sell because it's like this weird blip in the market. You better sell now before like people get smart again.
I mean, is that not the right advice?
I guess so. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Who's going to guarantee that you're going to get more money in August? What type of agent is going around saying, I think you should wait?
But they're cutting rates, man.
What are you talking about cutting rates? Who's cutting rates?
Rates, aren't they cutting rates?
Who's cutting rates?
Everybody's going to cut rates.
Everyone's saying they're going to cut rates. I haven't seen any rate cuts. Have you?
No, you can't see them yet.
You can't see them yet. Yeah. They're there, but you just can't see them yet. Don't worry.
They're coming. Next meeting, right? For everybody.
It's got to happen, right?
What the fuck's going on, TK? I don't understand. So hold on a sec. So buyers aren't like on a little pause right now to see like maybe if there's some kind of banking contagion here in Canada?
Buyers, I don't think the buyers read the bloody news. I mean, I think they just go to the bank and they say, how much money are you going to give me? And then they look at that number and then they calculate how much money that, their parents are going to give them and their uncle's going to lend them and how much money they've scraped together working 3 jobs over the last 3 years. And then they call up their agent, who's their cousin, who sold 3 houses in his whole career. And they say, hey, Jim, you look like you need some help. Why don't we go out and start looking at houses? And Jim says, it's a great time to buy.
It's the perfect time to buy.
Right? What
And
else would
he's
he
like, right?
say?
He's like,
He's
thank
got to
the
put food on the
fucking
table for his family.
Lord, man. It's
Talking
time to
about,
eat.
you know, of
Oh
course
no.
that, yeah, perfect. Let's go. So, I mean, it's just the way it goes. It's not something that's anything out of the ordinary. And here we are, 2023. There's buyers out there. There's a ton of buyers out there,
A
actually.
ton of
But based
buyers.
on
No
my
inventory.
anecdotal evidence, is that very few buyers are crazy. And when I say crazy, back in February 2022, and there's many other months I can give you, buyers were all crazy.
Crazy.
They were all crazy. I'd be getting 10 people who were crazy. 10 out of 10 were crazy. Now, I would say if I were to give you a number to get one crazy buyer, you'd have to get at least like 15 offers. But if you only have 5, 6, 7, they're all pretty sensible buyers, to be honest. I'm looking at the offers. They're
But
all like, market's going down. We're going to offer you 150 under asking. I'm like, dude, there's 5 offers. What's
but
this was,
but this is the thing.
do you know how much renovations that house needs? I'm like, yeah, but there's 5 offers.
But how are people buying the houses? The prices didn't go down. The interest rates went up. Like what the? I
Daryl,
mean, they
you're
did
not
go
giving
down.
people credit.
They did go down
They have
actually.
money and they're willing to borrow and pay monthly payments for life.
But these are rates that like make crazy payments.
But
Like crazy
I don't have the
payments.
numbers on this. I don't have the numbers on this, and I probably should. But I guarantee you that it's not that far off if someone were to say, let's just do a 30-year amortization. Maybe they would have done 20 before or something like that.
Right.
Now it's like the payments are the same. So it's not that they're paying that much more than they would have. Some people who are buying at their max and all that, of
Not
course,
per month,
but
but
they're just like
like
per
over
month, it's
the
like it hasn't changed, but they're just like 10 years later, I have to make these payments. So I'll deal with it then.
yeah, I mean that's what people are doing and
Yeah.
that's what people are thinking. But this
Yeah.
is like not okay. Well, that mentality is not good. But hold on. Layer on top of things that like the banks don't even have to worry now about what they're doing with money
It
because they're
feels like
getting
that.
well, but
It feels
this
like
is
they're
what just
getting the
happened.
carte blanche right now to be able to just sort of, let's just make it work. What do we need to do to make it work?
This is dangerous times.
Yeah.
This is dangerous times. This is very dangerous times when all of a sudden, like, it's like money alchemy all over the place. It's like, oh, okay. The entire system is collapsing. No
Mm.
problem.
So
We got this.
we don't
Don't
need to
worry
have
about
as
it.
much money as we say we do, right?
No, this is just insanity what's going
Yeah.
on. This is insanity what's going on. And I can't even, you're saying that buyers aren't crazy right now. And all I'm thinking is that anybody buying anything right now is crazy because you can't possibly think for a millisecond that what's going on in the States banking system and Europe's banking system and God knows where else can't have any effect at all on like Toronto real estate or Canadian real estate. Like, are we that impenetrable a market? Like, is it that safe and secure here?
I think that the 2008 market right now has got a lot of similarities to what we're dealing with, right? So you got like liquidity issues and stuff like that with the banks. The REITs are all suffering, defaults and stuff like that. Blackstone, different types of big corporations aren't able to make their payments, like we talked about Brookfield and stuff like that before. And so this can create, right, a liquidity issue, and as time goes on, you're going to start to
Can
see less and less money. You're going to start to see less and less money available for people, right? But the banking system here in Canada on the small residential mortgages is so regulated compared to other parts of the world. So there's definitely not a lot of programs that would be lifted as far as the Canadian consumer would be able to have access to, right? It's just alternative markets, it's investment portfolios, it's construction loans, all those type of things will get affected drastically, right? Because of those issues. But at the end of the day, the government's creating mortgages. We've created mortgages in order for people to, want to buy houses so that the government can make money and the banks can make money. I mean, that's just what the service is there
well,
for.
that's the whole
So they're
thing.
gonna run this house mill as much as possible. They're going to keep those wheels turning and make sure that people can borrow money on these like a lender type of mortgages.
Well,
But the
priority number one is, I
subprime
think,
stuff is the stuff that gets wiped out.
but keep paying is priority, not even the new stuff. It's like, let's just make sure that everybody out there doesn't all just start defaulting all
But
simultaneously.
they put these reserves out. Like it's almost like, I remember I was reading a lot about this during the pandemic because they were obviously being right. OSFI was like creating this um, schedule for them to be able to continuously assume that there is more and more defaults coming, which never came, right?
Right.
So okay, that all that money now gets put back on the balance sheet. So now again, they're ramping it up. They're like, oh, we're gonna make sure that we got like, how much impact does it really have? If they've got the ability to set aside that much money, billions and billions of dollars, to be able to have the reserves for any impact from defaults, how much does this really affect the banks at the end of the day? Right? They're going to keep lending. They're going to say, yeah, Joe's not paying his payments anymore, but we thought that would happen.
We
All
kind of
right,
knew that.
keep going. Sam needs a mortgage. Sam needs a mortgage. We better
No,
get
but
him.
it's okay because you know what? We got this new kind of loan that we can offer you that the payments are going to be similar.
Yeah.
Um,
We're going to call it the flex plan. And,
don't look at the line here that shows that you've paid 3 times the amount of your house over time now.
Just based on your age, right? You're 25 there,
You still
Michelle.
afford it, right?
You know,
Forever.
I think 60 years. You think maybe 60 years is a good time? 85, you'd be finished paying off this mortgage, right?
Because if it doesn't work for you, we have 75-year AMs now.
Yeah, we can refinance anytime. You know,
figure it out.
Right?
Is this the way?
This is what's going to happen.
This is what's going to happen. We're just
They'll
going to
find
keep
some
figuring
way.
it out.
They'll find some way for people to always keep on borrowing. You know, that's just the way it goes, right?
Can I tell you though?
Tell me.
And we've talked about it many times, but if you take a younger version of myself back in 2008, who took the approach that like everything's going to be okay and no, like don't worry about it, we'll get through this. It didn't work out quite the way I had foreseen it, right? And you know, the insulation of the Canadian market kind of disappeared for a while, right? And although our markets dropped about 19% over average, Canadian prices have dropped 18.9% off of peak. Like this thing's chugging along like nothing happened. Like nothing's going on. Like even though prices came down, this thing is still kind of grooving. If there was more inventory, there'd be more sales, right? And if there were more sales, the prices may be going up faster than that. Like they're already going up. What the fuck is going on? How is this thing still
It was the greatest
going?
downturn we've had in decades.
The biggest downturn like in forever.
40 years,
right?
probably.
There's nothing going on.
Or 30 years.
Meanwhile, prices are steady and they're actually rising in some places. And somehow people can afford the mortgages on these things. And you think that many people, they just have $1 million sitting in the bank that they can drop so that they can afford a monthly payment on a $1.5 million house? Like, because if you have the 500,000 and you need to borrow the $1 million, that's $6,000 a month or something, or $7,000 a month.
Yeah. Most of the people that I'm dealing with are selling a property that has the equity in it already. Right. And so it's very, very sensitive to the price that they pay is very sensitive to the price that they sell for. Right. Like there is no flexibility where they're saying to me, oh, don't worry, we'll just pull in an extra couple hundred. Like before, I think what was happening was people were just like, look, I want to upgrade. That's my goal. If I have to add 100,000 to my mortgage, I'm okay with that. But now the conversations I'm having are the people that are like, I don't want to change anything that my situation is. I want to change my house. Some of them, it just doesn't make sense. They just can't do it.
What does that look like though?
Well, for example, so somebody wants to go, a guy I met this week, he's 4-bedroom, 2-story house in Thornhill. It's probably in the 1.5 range. He owes very little money on it. He's been there for a long time. He's a baby boomer. and
Yeah.
he wants to go into something like a townhouse or a condo and be mortgage free, but still be in the area that he wants to be in.
So what
Right?
do you do nowadays? Do you sell first? Because
You sell first for
you
sure.
sell first,
You
and
go
do
out
you
and you look, you go out and you look, you figure out what's out there, you make sure that you understand what you're dealing with. You make sure that you've seen like multiple properties that are actually going to meet your needs, right? Because there's needs here. He's got different things going on in his
but it
life that
won't
he
be
needs
around when you're ready to buy.
multiple ones, not just one. So like, you know,
There's
and then you
nothing.
figure out how picky the client is too. Because I'm dealing with another client who we're going to buy first
But can't
because
you get caught really easily right now without a home? Like you can't rent fuck all and you can't buy anything. Like there's
so I mean
nothing.
the risk isn't as great as you think it is. I mean, I think my opinion would be that more inventory is coming to the market, right? And that, you know, if you're going to be sitting on the market for months, the risk would be higher if you bought first and then you couldn't sell because the market changes because you got all this inventory.
But you
So I
can
always ask a
bank on
very
that.
tough question. I say, what do you fear most, being broke or homeless?
Right. You say that all the time.
And so
So
if
but
someone says that, well, you know what, money is really important to me, then it says, well, let's sell first because we'll know exactly how much money we have before we buy. You
you
might
can
have to be
get a
homeless
hotel
for
or something if you
a
have
month or
to.
two. I don't know, but you'll be okay financially. If someone says, look, I got my sick mother with me, I can't go, you know, bouncing around. I can only move once. I got a dog, whatever. Then it's like the risk you take buying first is that, you know, the house may be worth less when we come to sell it, but we eliminate risk by buying and selling as close to possible, as close together as possible. So don't have a 2 week, 3 week gap between the time you buy and sell. You should
And
be
you
ready to go with
and, and if
days.
you and if you sell first, you got to be ready to maybe rent or couch
Well,
surf for
you
a
need a
little
long
while or something.
closing and you should have been scouting out the place. Like you should have a pretty good idea that there's like a lot of options out there. And if you have multiple,
But
like, you know,
are
at least
there
9 month, a 90-day closing, well, that's what you do with the client. So for this particular client, there is, you know, we're going to go out and look at some
lots of options?
townhouses and that there's like, and he's not picky at all. He's kind of just like, as long as it has this, this, and this, I'm good. So he's the ideal person to
Right.
sell first. And his situation is not one that he should be buying first either. Too much risk there.
I would be so
Because
nervous to buy first right
he's
now.
so focused on, you know, mortgage free and all these type of things. So you don't want to be putting him in a situation where he has to take out a loan again. It wouldn't make sense to move.
It is an interesting
So that's
time
a
to have to
buyer.
make these big decisions, I'll tell you.
But he doesn't have $1 million in the bank. It's
Doesn't
locked up in everybody's homes. And so we don't even really talk about the equity as much as you would as a down payment. You know, it's more about just like the whole picture here. It's like after we go from here and you net this, here's what you're going to need to close over there, and here's your situation once you're all said and done. Is this okay with you? And then they say yes or no. You know, I'm comfortable having an extra
do
200 grand, because sometimes there's a big equity
they end
pull.
up
So,
with a bigger mortgage, right?
or sometimes it's a mortgage. So it's depending on
Or
equity
they end
pull.
up
I
with a
walk away with
mortgage instead of no
200K, great.
mortgage.
Or you walk away, like younger couples, especially, they're going to say, you know, my mortgage right now is 400. When I move in there, after it's all said and done, my mortgage will be, you know, close to that. And I'm happy. And then you work things out. You go through amortization, you go through payments, variable, like, you know, you go
Oh,
through all that stuff with them. So then they can see the whole picture.
so
But
much
it
work
wasn't
now,
like this before.
TK. So
Exactly. It
much
wasn't
work
like this
now.
before.
What the
Everyone's
fuck?
like, yeah, just get an extra $100,000 on the mortgage. I already went to the Scotiabank calculator online. I can afford it.
Yeah, it's like,
$420 a month extra. I'm good.
yeah.
Let's go get the park view. I don't know.
Now it's a
What
lot
can
of
I say?
work. Now you gotta do. You
I'm
gotta
so happy. This market is like, honestly, I'm in love
keeps you
with this market.
busy.
I'm in love with
Right.
this market. The problems I'm solving
Well,
for
you
people right
wouldn't be
now
if you weren't on a
are
great team, right?
massive. Of
Like
course.
if
I
you were
totally
like a
appreciate that. I'm just saying.
so many people are fucked right now.
It's like the scenario I got to, yeah, the scenarios that I'm dealing with right now are like turning heads as far as how these deals are going together, you know?
Yeah,
So
tell me. What's the craziest thing going on right now?
over leveraged properties, you know, that have to have multiple exit strategies on these loans from, you know, possibly leveraging other properties, receivership. You know, I got that one receivership property that I was telling you about, you know, so I met with the receiver this weekend. So that's a big
Ugh.
project, you know, with, um, you're looking at 8 figures worth of debt on it,
Hey.
you know? Yeah. So you're talking about some cool, like not cool for the people involved here. Don't get me wrong. I'm not being insensitive, but really just like eye-opening things that I'm learning and that I'm seeing and that I'm getting experience from, where I'm like, this is a great reason why, hopefully, as I grow older and as an investor, as a homeowner, as a real estate broker, I learn from all these little examples that I'm getting presented with. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm getting really good education from it. And so sometimes that's how you have to look at it. Cause I'm working my butt off.
Well,
And some
and
of them I'm
that's
not getting paid. Like some of the deals I'm putting together, the lenders, there's not enough money to pay me. And it's like, you got to figure that all out.
it's great that you say that, because there really is something about experience and going through shit
Yeah.
that helps you later, like whether you like it or not. I mean, you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
learn from things, right? But like, we're living in a society. I put up a tweet this week where it's like, we have 20 something year olds explaining to us how it worked in the last cycle.
Yeah.
Okay, bro,
I got a better,
like,
yeah.
fuck off, guys. Like, enough already. What's
Yeah.
going on here? No, but this is serious. Like, fuck off. What the hell do you, because you watched some videos and you like read some charts, you think you know what the fuck it's like for to go through a downturn?
Mm-hmm.
People have no idea what it's like. People
Mm-hmm.
have no idea. They've never gone through it. Listen, I want to tell you a story, TK. I
Mm-hmm.
want to go back to 1999 when I bought my first house, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was fucking bananas back then too,
Yeah.
okay? And this thing has just been steamrolling forever, and nobody has known, other than minor blips, nobody's known a rough time at all here.
Yeah.
And you've got all these people teaching other people about what it was like in previous cycles and how this one is like similar to this one, because depending on your perspective in the time and in the situation, like, you have very different experiences that happen in a decline, right? You
Yeah.
have people that make out like bandits, okay? You have people that are sitting there ready to go, that learn from the past, just like have a bunch of money ready and be ready to pounce, whether it's now, in 2 years, in 3 years, they're going to make like generational money ready to go, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
have all the people that get taken advantage of by those people, that their
Mm-hmm.
lives get decimated and destroyed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they got to fuck around with these interest rates and everything. But like, since 1999, and it was already booming and grooving then, I lined up, okay? And I knew people. I was selling the lumber to these guys. I was selling them their trusses and windows and everything. I knew them. And I had to wait in the goddamn line to
Mm-hmm.
stand around that table that shows the different lots that are available. And everybody's going crazy and pushing each other and yelling at each other. And fuck you, man. That's my lot. I said, if people are going crazy to buy lots, right?
Mm-hmm.
I paid 286,000 in 1999 in a frenzied mess, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so 1999 to now, okay, we go through pandemics and wars and increases in interest rates, and it's still going.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is going to happen here? Because at some point, it's just, reality has to set in here. You have bank failures around the world, man. You have all
Mm-hmm.
kinds of crazy shit. Have you seen, like, in France, they're burning the city? Like, people are
Mm-hmm.
getting pissed because people are getting squeezed. People like you and me, we don't feel it right now, but there's lots of people that are just getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed. They got no money left. Credit cards are done. Government programs are done. And food, they say food's 11%. Like, does food feel like it's only 11% more to you? Have you bought a
Mm-hmm.
piece of chicken lately?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is going to stop this thing? If bank failures don't stop it, no trust in government doesn't stop it, world wars don't stop it, potential more wars don't stop it. And how, like, I don't get it.
The bubble bursts, the bubble bursts. People
But
can't continue to service the debt, the amount of debt that we've been building over and over again. And
but
yeah,
we just can't. We just spent
I'm
15
dealing with some
minutes.
tough cases right now, man, on debt. Like people are just borrow, 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 and they just can't make those payments anymore. Like there's just no possible way. And so when you're talking to the receiver that I was talking to on the weekend, and we're having like a real conversation here, because it's like, well, the developer might not get paid, right? That's almost a given. The real estate agents, how much money is going to be left to pay them, right? At the end of the day. And I acknowledged that, and I wanted them to acknowledge it, to say, like, guys, I could be doing a lot of this work for free at the end here by the time we get this all done. And even they were just like, kids, I think there's like a first, second, and a third mortgage that they've got to deal with. And they're like, yeah, even all the mortgages and the lenders and all that kind of stuff all understand, that there just may not be enough money for everyone to get paid. But at the end of the day, just taking over a property and letting it sit there empty, banking on some sort of revival of the market in 5 years after all those expenses that need to be paid, right? In the interim, management, utilities, property taxes, insurance, right? That doesn't seem like it's a great idea, and there's a lot of risk to that. And so eventually they write off those debts and they move on.
But this is the thing, is right now we just spent 15 minutes talking about all these ways that they're not going to like push people out and move on. They're just going to paper over. They're going to just extend
But
and
this is
pretend.
alternative lenders. Those A lender guys, they're
yeah. What are we talking?
they're
Like
padding
C
their
guys with
they're
third
padding their
mortgages?
they're padding their reserves to ensure that they can mitigate those type of losses. But the other guys are all private lenders, that kind of stuff. The private lending market. I mean, I've done a lot of private lending, nothing major at all. I'm super small, and it's for people that I know and different things like that too. But I do it in a stupid way, and it's definitely something that could burn me, if I ever did something, bigger than I could handle. So I know if I'm doing that and I'm small and I'm not doing much, there's other people out there who have way more money than me who are doing the same stupid things but with larger sums. I just sold a house with that where it was almost like $400,000, loaned in a silly way. And when things hit the fan, the guy who loaned the money passed away.
Yeah.
Now his estate is the one who owns the loan, and they have to track down, who owns the estate, who the beneficiaries are, and how this is all going to be distributed and everything else. We got it closed, but these type of situations where you got people just trying to do the right thing, saying, I got this money, yeah, sure, I'll lend you some money. Oh, all the banks said no. Oh, you couldn't find anybody else. Harold the jeweler wouldn't lend you anything. Oh, okay. I've known your family for a long time there, Darryl. I'll cut you a check. How much do you need? Right? And these are all the people who get burned big time. I got a line of credit. You promise that you'll make the payments?
But those guys disappeared months ago. They're
But
gone.
they did it already. That's the thing.
They did it already. Those are the guys that are getting creamed.
It's now being like understood. Like those were mistakes.
So what happens to that guy though? He just stays in his house longer and he pays more money per month.
No, the small little guy, you can get burned. I mean, there's another example that I had where someone lent out part of their line of credit, and it was assumed to be lost. I can't say for sure, but they're gonna just keep making those monthly payments on that line of credit, and that hopefully it gets paid back one day. If not, they just now have a new debt that was not expected. Right. So those are the situations that I think, wipe out trillions of dollars of net worth faster than Bitcoin, faster than the stock market, faster than everything. I don't know about faster than Bitcoin.
I don't know about faster than, yeah.
Right. But
is it happening
really quickly,
that
there's
much?
There's a ton of money. No, it is. You just don't know about it. You just don't know about it because it was all secured because of the banking system. It was all.
Oh, we lost you. What was all secured?
It was all secured, right? So the person who was borrowing could afford those payments. There was a stress test. There was multiple people on title. Everything was done secured. So there's, repercussions, and everyone knows that they have to pay back the debt. So it's very secure that way. It's just unfortunate.
You mean through the bank?
Yeah, through whether it's a line of credit or it was a mortgage or whatever it was. The payments are getting made. The payments are getting made, but it's just the person who is supposed to be making the payments sometimes isn't.
So, but seriously, people are talking about rate cuts now because of all those banking failures, and people are expecting even more banking failures to occur. Actually, depending on who you listen to, there's all kinds of other ones that are occurring already and that have applied for this special purpose vehicle that the feds came up with.
Pot. Yeah.
You have to kind of jump in the pot because you're in the pot already. I mean, there's nothing to jump into. They're all in it. I mean,
the chief admin guy at the Silicon Valley Bank was the ex-CEO of Lehman Brothers. How
isn't somebody's like last name like Lehman or something? Like,
right?
The head guy's name is Lehman.
They literally have on their executive committee the guy who is the CEO of, the cause of the last, the biggest catalyst
Sure.
of the of
Well,
the
they
of the
just
last great
absorbed him
recession.
into like,
And then they had no risk officer as well, so they had nobody there for 8 months who was looking after all of their risk profiles. And the lady that they eventually hired was the lady from the Deutsche Bank, who had started the credit rating system, where it was like the
mm,
mortgage-backed securities were like, no, these are AAA securities,
yeah,
you
these
can't
are
go wrong.
safe. Yeah,
These are this
go
is
ahead.
just the best quality you can get right here. This is the good stuff.
Full steam
No,
ahead. Everything's fine.
yeah, don't worry.
Don't look
So
here.
it's like such a con.
The
It's
whole
just
thing's
like
a con, but this is the
really.
thing is like everybody knows the con. Like nobody's fooled anymore. Everybody hates everything. Everybody's pissed. Everybody wants the government out. Nobody wants to do anything except buy fucking houses. TK. It's crazy. The
Yeah,
housing market is so resilient. I can't even believe it. How can prices be going up in this environment? Like, is it everybody's just stopped,
but
like waiting?
I thought it was the speculators, Daryl. I thought it was these speculators that were causing the housing market to go up.
I
No,
don't know
it
what's
was
going
the
on.
foreigners.
It's the
It was the
immigration,
foreigners. They were buying all our houses and they were causing this. Daryl, I've been saying this forever. I've been saying this forever.
but
Check the tapes. Click on this link right here, and
yeah,
you'll find proof of it. That's not true. There's
TK
nothing
is
there.
gonna find it.
But we have a ban on uh non-resident buyers,
Yeah,
right?
that changed things.
Ban, right? So
Yeah, there's only
and
15 offers on everything now.
there's no speculators right now in the market. Like, I'm
None.
looking at all the offers, I'm hearing who the people are. Everybody's buying because they need a place to live. Nobody's
Yeah.
buying out
But
of speculation,
immigration doesn't make a
flippers or anything.
difference.
Anti-flipping
Immigration
tax.
makes no difference, and there's no supply issue.
Yeah.
It's a demand issue. Well,
Good
I
on
mean, it
demand.
is.
Mhm.
I mean,
Well, that would create a supply issue, but the inverse of supply, meaning we don't have enough houses to meet the demand.
well, and if we would stop fucking bringing in 800,000 people, we wouldn't have a problem with supply.
That's possible.
Well, I mean, if we stopped it 20
This is
years
possible.
ago,
But
then,
maybe, yeah,
right?
maybe this is what it is. This is just the path that we're on, where everybody is needing a home, and this is hopefully going to
Now's
put
your
pressure.
chance.
This is pro developer talk right here. But
Mm.
I mean, if we ended up having a market correction that was significant, and we had an oversupply, and we went from, now we're at 2 months of inventory, and we went to uh, 5 years of inventory, like it was in the States, where you had like just everything was just sitting on the market, right? And nothing was moving. Um, how would that help the supply creation on the development side? It probably wouldn't,
No,
because the
it
pressure
would
wouldn't be there
stall it.
politically. Exactly. People would say, oh, well, you know what? I don't think we actually needed all those homes, because look, now we have all these homes for sale and nobody wants them. Therefore, it must not be that demand. So I think that it's kind of good that the market's bouncing back a little bit. People are a little bit more sensible. I'm hoping they've learned a lesson, and that they're not going to bid crazy numbers, and that they should look at the last sale and
How
base
is
their
that going to
decision
stay the case?
off that alone. And if it's not the right house for them, move on and find something else. That is what you should be doing. But I digress. If that all, continues to have a little bit of push, it will create pressure with the political side of things, to be able to continue to, push forward on all these development stuff, which I'm under the assumption that everything is still um, set in place. I was reading an article that they were saying, because of the condo issues, that this is super bullish for purpose-built rentals, right?
How?
Well, because there's going to be a lot of projects where they have bought the land. And as you know, once you've bought the land, you need to do something with it. Otherwise, it's costing you a lot of money to keep that land. And when they were looking at the initial pro forma, which was the condo, and it was like the get out type of structure, now they're going back and saying rents are higher than ever, higher than ever. And construction costs are, I think, starting to come down. This condo plan doesn't work anymore. So we have no choice but to do a purpose-built rental, or it's actually a better choice.
Yeah, we'll see
This isn't
about
me.
that.
Well, this isn't
I
me. This is the
believe
Real
somebody
Estate
wrote
News
the
and Exchange.
article,
Yeah. This is
but
the
like,
Residential
look at
Construction
the
Council of Ontario.
applications.
Yeah. So they're the
Yeah,
ones looking at the applications, right?
it's very, very hard to make the numbers make sense
Mm-hmm.
enough to pour out like another 20% of equity to get the deal off the ground. And it's a hell of a lot more risk, right? Like at least with a condo, the banks force you to sell 70% to like somebody at least,
They take the risk. Yeah.
right? Now the
Yeah.
risk is spread out between all the people willing to be part of that, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think that there's that many people that are going to rush to build purpose-built rentals now. The people that are building currently the purpose-built rentals are generally like REITs that have owned a mall forever and have decided to change the parking lot into purpose-built rental, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or monster mega projects that have like multiple towers where they've made a portion of it purpose-built rental, right? Because like a REIT owns a portion of the deal. But there's
Mm-hmm.
not very many purpose-built rentals. There's some, but like nowhere close to anything significant. I mean, I guess if it doubled, it would still not really be significant, but it would be double.
It would be double. Yeah.
But it would be
It would be
double.
more than what it is now, which is
There's
good,
like a
right?
couple of smaller guys that are building like small boutique purpose-built rentals, like nothing
Yeah.
crazy, but
Yeah. Yeah.
and then occasionally like you have a RioCan puts in an application to like change a strip mall to residential that's going to be rentals,
But
right?
I also think that because you're only looking Toronto. I know you're definitely Toronto
Oh,
focused when you're looking at those
sure.
applications. There's a lot more in the 905s and the, I
Where's
don't know,
that?
705 outside of
Who
905s,
cares?
519s, whatever it is. There's a
Yeah,
lot more. There's a lot
sure.
more
Well,
applications
that's
there because
because their
rents have
rents,
gone up.
but their rents are so far out of whack versus price of like to
The
purchase
land.
the
Yeah.
units, right?
Yeah.
That it's crazy because you'll buy a house for half the price there, but the rent's not half,
Yeah.
right? So you can
And I was hearing examples of just like recently how much money it is to rent
crazy.
in like the worst
Hamilton or wherever.
cities, not
Yeah,
worse, much smaller cities, much further away, every single place out there. Calgary has got, a boom on rents. Every
sure.
small city in Alberta is facing the same pressure.
Sure.
BC, these places that I've never heard of.
Yeah, because there just isn't enough places and there's just
Yeah.
floods and floods and floods of people coming in. Whether they
Yeah.
can afford a place or not is another story. I mean, somewhere they can afford a place.
But
But
it's the acceptance level too. So when people start to pay more when they start to pay more money for a house, eventually you just go, okay, that's what it costs to get that. When people start paying more for a mortgage, at first it's a shock. Oh, I can't pay that. Oh my gosh, why would I?
yeah,
Now people are adjusting.
we
The same
absorb
thing,
it very
same thing
easily
happens
around
with
here.
rent. At one point, paying $500 a month rent was a lot of money, and that was something that families would struggle to pay. Then it became 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. There's people out there paying rent like no problem, 9 grand a month,
Yeah,
no big deal.
lots
They're
of
like
people.
$9,000 a month. It's I got to get a house. Where else am I gonna live?
Sure.
Right. So I'm just telling you that they adjust. And so these rents that I'm hearing, which it's not high rents, they're $1,600, $1,800 a month, but they're in cities where you were like, what? You can get that kind of rent? What an opportunity to build a purpose-built rental there now.
I
The land
with
is practically free.
a friend of mine is doing purpose-built rentals in Peterborough,
Perfect.
which is, yeah, I mean, he just hit like a grand slam with that, especially with the timing that he had.
Mhm.
But yeah, it makes sense when the spread is like crazy. Like, because in Peterborough, in some places, you get the same as a house in Toronto.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand what the hell's going on. Like, all of a sudden, people wanted Peterborough. I don't think that lasts very long, but it's still like in comparison to the cost of the actual door that you're renting, it's
Mhm.
astronomically lower. So your return is like crazy. Now you don't get appreciation, but I mean, there's a lot of people that are looking for their appreciation they were promised right now, and they're not seeing it, and they may not see it for a long time.
Yeah.
Right. Because he's still
Investors.
20%, like 19%. If you bought it the wrong time, that's a tough hill to although, you know what, in Toronto, I
Mhm.
gotta say, like if we're on the way up again already and
Mhm.
nothing has an effect here, like
Mhm.
we'll get that 20% back pretty
Yeah.
fucking quickly.
Yeah. It's stupid.
It's so stupid. I
Yeah.
remember okay, so back in 2008, 2009, it just died, right? It just stopped. But like 10, 11 months later, it was roaring and ready and back and past where
Mm-hmm.
it had dropped to, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was insane. But it was like just this brief blip in time where everything just stopped. And then
Mm-hmm.
if
That's why
that's what happens now, I
yeah.
mean, they're just literally promised a couple $1 trillion to like backstop all these deposits and bank failures. So like,
Mm-hmm.
what's the chances that it doesn't get out into the system, right?
Mm.
So that's a lot more money coming into the system, which what I mean, look what happened last time. Everybody thought the world was ending and crashing and everything was going to stop, and then boom, they start printing like crazy again.
Yeah.
That's a crazy
I
print.
don't think the government has a limit on how much debt that they're willing to support.
They don't, but you
I
know
don't think
what?
they've got a limit. I think they're just like, you
The
know what?
rest of the world now does. Okay, let's go. You want to talk about BRICS for a little bit? Because I
Sure.
think this has an effect on how can this not have an effect on things? You got the more population than the United States. I mean, you have basically the rest of the world now joining up to get off the US dollar and to go on to some new dollar that's backed by an actual asset. I believe it's supposed to be gold. This is huge, TK.
Mm.
This is huge. And
I
we're
heard this before
like not
with
recently.
Bitcoin.
You heard this before with Bitcoin? What does
Yeah, you
that
know,
mean?
like a new currency that's going to wipe out the US dollar, you know?
Hold on. I didn't say it's going to wipe out the US dollar, but
Okay.
they're actually doing this. This is happening. Like, this
Yeah.
is not a joke. This is actually happening. And you have like serious, heavy hitting nations in this thing,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all pissed off. They're all fed up
I'd be
with the
pissed off.
shenanigans.
Yeah.
Everybody's, yeah, of
Right.
course. I don't,
Why do we got to keep playing with this US dollar nonsense?
not only that, why do we have to let these motherfuckers do whatever they want all over the world with every resource, with their weapons and their fucking dollar and their interest
They're
rates?
screwing it up.
They're
Look
fucking
what's
up
going
the
on over there.
whole
Everybody's overweight, drinking
thing.
cola,
What are
borrowing
these
money off of their
assholes
cousins. Yeah.
doing, right?
Yeah, I
So
know.
these guys all got together and said, you know what? Like, enough's enough. Look, it's no different than even in a business where a few of the partners get together and say, this guy's gone fucking bananas. We got to get rid of him because this don't work anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
The deal we made 50 years ago or 70 years ago, these guys went fucking bananas and like really took advantage of the situation. I
Yeah.
think, because I mean, God, it's just a bunch of crazy bullshit wars over a bunch of crazy bullshit resources that I don't even know if anybody even needs, right? It's all crazy. So, but watch.
I think Russia's been the one of the big influencers, right? Because they were fighting and they used their own measures to ensure that, you know, people were still using their currency to be trading with the gas, right? In Europe.
The
Because everyone
gas
was
is the currency.
but everyone was trying to, you know, suppress the value of the ruble or whatever it's called,
Yeah,
by not using it. And so the only way that you can inflate the value of your currency is to say, well, in order to buy what we've got, it can only be purchased with our currency. So it allowed
sure.
there to be more demand for it. And I think that that's what people are noticing. That's what countries
But
are noticing is
that's what's going on. They're doing that
hold on a
now
second. Russia just did that. What?
with
Okay.
China and
Right.
Iran and
Exactly.
India and South Africa and what? What?
They all
Seriously?
complied.
Mexico wants in too?
Yeah.
Mexico applied. Hang
Yeah.
on a sec.
Yeah.
United
Mexico's getting
States
screwed. They've been
is
getting screwed
planning,
forever.
but they're planning on really screwing them now because they're a big part of the plan to bring all this manufacturing back onto like this coast, right? Back
Yeah.
onto these shores. And
Yeah.
guess who was going to be the slave labor for this plan? Not
Yeah.
the Canadians, right?
Yeah.
Mexicans. And now the Mexicans are trying to join that deal over there. And that can't be allowed, TK. How's that going to be allowed? We're going to have what's going to happen?
Yeah.
There's too much going on for fucking Canadian real estate to just keep chugging along like everything's fine. Isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't see any realistic road. But like if, and this is what I keep saying, the thing that keeps fucking up every model that anybody could ever do. Because if somebody can just go, what do you need? Like a couple trillion? No problem. Here you go. You guys all fucked up this bad? No problem. Like, here you go.
There's no incentive to not screw up
What
later on.
happens next? What does the
Yeah.
next phase look like?
Yeah. Think about how many companies that have had meetings where they're like, how can we get the government to bail us out of this? Right? What can we do? Right? How much? Maybe we should screw it up a little bit more so we can get a bailout. I think that'll be a
Hold
better
on.
strategy than trying to fix it.
You're telling me that if I take all these people's money and I put it in a moderately, not even moderately risky, the safest asset on the planet, a treasury, right, from a country,
Mhm.
and things go south and they're going to bail me out completely, right?
Mm.
So hold on a sec. I was making decent returns. I was happy with those at 1.5%, but now the returns are like staggering. And I don't even have to worry because they're just going to pay off every mistake I make right now. Now is the time for balls to go to the walls, TK.
Mm.
Now's the time for these guys to take the biggest, craziest risks and come up with the craziest shit of all time because there's no repercussion.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going down. The only ones going down are the ones getting
The
absorbed.
investors, the small investors.
Yeah,
the
but they're
guys who
getting
were
absorbed into some
greedy and they were saying,
consortium.
oh, maybe I can tag along here and
Yeah.
make a quick few bucks.
Like all these guys are selling the stocks before everything goes to shit, right? They all know what's going on. Like people know what's going on. They don't have to do it. They don't have to be part of it. But anyways, the point is like with all this craziness, like all this stuff, and not like, and then throw in a bunch of people, like if they can backstop everything and we're safe and we're going to just keep bringing in money or people, and somehow people have money to pay for these prices so that the prices aren't dropping, because if, like, you're right, if people didn't have the money to pay for these houses now, they wouldn't be buying them, right? They wouldn't be getting approved for them right now. It's harder than ever to get approved. So people do fucking have money. So what where's it coming from? How's it getting here? What
It's
the
been built
hell
up.
is going
It's
on?
the money that's been built up from the machine since 1999, and you were
It's
waiting
gonna
in that little for sale center up
it's
in
gonna
Thornhill.
boom.
Since then, equity has just been built. Fake wealth has been built since then, and has created us, the situation that we're in right now, which is everybody has got access to assets that are worth way more than they should be, and that they're using that wealth to distribute to their kids or to be able to go and buy that new car or boat or vacation or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it eventually runs out. That's what happens. This is what happens
Eventually
when the
runs
bubble
out.
bursts. All that asset inflation, okay, becomes wiped out in two ways, right? The first way is going to be on paper because you didn't sell. And the second way is you're going to be selling and you're going to use that to buy something else, either something that's depreciating or something that is going to be part of the same bubble. Nobody's taking the money out at the peak of the bubble and they're putting it into a bank account and letting it sit there cash. It just doesn't happen. Okay. Maybe there's a couple guys in the comments who will claim that this happened, and I'm happy for you, but 99% of the other people don't. And so it just gets wiped out. It just disappears. It just comes off the books. And each year, because we're already seeing it, right? We're already seeing the greatest loss in wealth in I don't know how many years on paper
But
because of how much.
that's the crazy thing.
Okay.
We like the market lost on average 19%. And like if you look around, it's like, does it feel like we crashed? Because like 20% is a crash, man.
But
Like
20% from where?
who
That's the
gives
big
a
question.
fuck where? It's like
we were
does it feel
inflated
like
by
it?
it was a 100% inflated environment. And so losing 20% of that, it's like, you know what, I'm still up 80. It's no big deal. Right? So there's still a lot of inflation out there, and that's why people have money to spend. And that's what I'm seeing on the ground level. Is it's not a bunch of people who've made a bunch of safe investments, business minded investors. It's all just like, well, my house is worth more, And so therefore I can go and do the things that I want to do, whether it's personal or buy or sell, whatever they're doing, but it's all coming from literally them doing nothing,
Them doing nothing.
them just owning
Them
an
figuring out
asset,
how to pay that fucking mortgage every month and actually
right?
get the mortgage.
Struggling for 20 years, right? And that's what they're all sitting on. Is they're all sitting on an amount of wealth that they earned by accident. Because picture the world, picture this world, just picture this world. Go back to prices from 1999
Oh,
and allow a simple rate of inflation to be calculated.
but it's crazy. Here, listen to this.
Yeah.
1999, I bought it for 286. 2
Okay.
years later, after living in the house for 2 years. Actually, no, that's not true. 1999, I bought it. I moved in 2001. So I sold it in 2003 for 420. 286 to 420. From 99, like putting down, I don't know, 10 grand or something.
Okay.
To
Here's
right.
Bank of
That's
Canada's
crazy.
inflation calculator. Your house at 280 in 1999 should be 470,000 in 2023. Okay.
It's like 1.4.
Okay. Exactly. So there's $1 million of extra equity in that home that these people weren't expecting, didn't know they would have, and that technically shouldn't exist.
That's an inflation calculator based on the actual inflation.
2.19% average annual rate of inflation since in 24 years.
Mm-hmm.
So they took the CPI for January 1999 at 91.5 and the CPI, in January 2023 at 153.9.
And it should only be worth something.
$470,000.
That's crazy.
That's what it is, though. So it's like that $1 million is this money, and this is what is fueling the expenditures of the people who bought in those markets, myself included. Everybody's doing the same thing. It's like we have this fake wealth that we feel great about, that we say, oh, my net worth, and oh, I got all this going for me, and we did nothing for it, right? Because it was just part of our principal residence, or we bought rental property, whatever it was. And so now that mindset is going to be used on where that money goes. And unfortunately, the decisions are poor. They're much more irrational decisions that are being made in compared to if that house was only worth $470,000 today. Imagine that.
Right.
If you paid off your mortgage, obviously you paid it off in the same amount of time. Okay. Because if you bought it for 280, you got a 25-year mortgage. If you just paid it as per the amortization schedule, you just paid it off. Actually, you're about to pay it off next year.
Whoa.
Okay. Now your house is only worth 470. Oh. Think about the decisions you would be making going forward. Now, again, different ball games. I'll give you the example from the guy this week who bought a 2-story home. He just wants to downsize. He owns a 2-story home from the 90s. I think it was maybe around 99, but in the 90s. He just wants to go and downsize. He's a 2,600 plus square foot house. Doesn't need to be in such a big house. So he's going to go into something smaller. So let's say that was worth 470 today instead, right? Instead of 1.5. The house that he's going to buy today is about $1.1 million, maybe $1 million. I don't know. It would only cost 350.
Right.
So he'd still be able to make that move into the house that he wants to do, which is important, because that is those are the real like stories. Like, this is somebody who's been like financially responsible. This is somebody who's had, the ability to be able to manage his situation properly for various reasons. He will be able to do what he needs to do. But the mindset of the person who is assuming that they have $1 million more to spend, or they have rental properties or anything like that, the decisions that they make are foolish. That most people are going to look at.
In your scenario, what happens with wages? Wages, even if they stayed how they stayed, you could afford everything, right? Wages wouldn't have to go up in that scenario. So, but this scenario doesn't work in the most desirable areas in the land, right? Because there's only so many places and so many people. So like, if you want to live in this fairy tale of yours, TK, right, where houses only, but there's places in Canada that actually are like that, right, that have followed that trajectory.
Not anymore. They changed.
Not anymore.
They were.
Why? What's the average price in Saskatchewan?
I don't know, but it definitely went up a lot more in the last few years than it ever did before.
I was walking the dog the other day and I saw a license plate for Saskatchewan. And you know what my thought was? It's a real place, TK. Oh my God. It really
Hey, hey,
exists.
hey, hey.
It's not just on the
We need to
map.
get a Saskatoon background. I think we should do Saskatoon next week.
It's just wheat fields.
Just wheat fields.
What do you think?
Yeah.
These backgrounds are free, bro?
Yeah, I'm just saying. Good idea.
What else do
Background
we
guy.
got going on? We got inflation going down, heading down. This
Heading
is a
down.
good thing. So
Yep.
I don't know how that's fucking possible. How is it goddamn possible that oil prices are just shrinking right now? How is it possible?
Yeah.
Explain this to me. There's
Yeah.
war everywhere. Half the supplies offline are from people that we don't deal with anymore, right? We must be going into reserves somewhere. Pipelines are getting blown to pieces. And somehow, what is it like? I don't know. It's fucking freezing around here. So I don't know if I saved on heating this year. I heard Europe was warmer, so they didn't get killed with their heating bills, which is like,
What they're
gotta
saying
be.
is it's just strictly just financial fears. So it's just less money is being invested in the oil sector because everyone's afraid of a global recession, right? So it's a banking crisis issue.
Saudi Arabia wants to be part of BRICS. Like oil should be shooting up through the roof. Like it's like
Everyone's afraid though of what's going to happen, right? Everyone's
but
afraid
that's
of what's
why
going to
even
happen.
more it should be more. Okay, so you buy a piece of chicken for $800 a piece right now, 11% inflation.
Yeah, it's a good
Like
deal.
you buy what steak? Like go to a restaurant. We
Mm.
went to we went out last night. We went to a
Went
really
to the nice
shitty
place.
restaurant. No, it was
Yep.
horrible actually. We were
Yeah.
all like, what the hell? How did we pick this place?
Yeah.
There was three couples and we each paid $100 and we were like, oh my God, this is fantastic. Like $100 a couple to go out on a weekend in Toronto. This is crazy. But TK, this is not normal that $100 is great for
Yeah.
people to go out for dinner. Like this
You're
is
eating
just
outside on a
recently great.
patio in March.
Like what is going and for a crappy place. Like
Yeah.
I would not suggest going there to anybody. But the point is cheap dinner for two is $100 right now, and that's cheap.
That's cheap.
This is crazy. Like, where's 11% inflation in food? How is inflation going down? I don't understand anything anymore. I know I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but like everything that I see points towards absolute disaster. And yet here we are. We're hearing about prices starting to inch up and bidding wars on everything. But it's like, yeah, it was a bidding war, but they just got market price. What the fuck does that mean?
One of the best lines that Quentin, who is one of our guests, you can watch the video of us interviewing him here, and
Who's
he was
Quinton?
Quentin. He owns all the apartment buildings. He's from the Durham Real Estate Investors Group.
Oh,
Quentin
Quinton.
D'Souza. Yeah. So he was one of our guests,
Oh yeah,
and
Quinton. Now I remember.
yeah, and so he said he's not as bullish on real estate. I'm totally screwing this up. He's not as bullish on real estate as he is bearish on the dollar.
Bearish on the Canadian dollar?
Yeah.
What
And
the
that's
fuck
what
does
it
that
is.
what does that have to do with anything?
Because even though you feel like prices should be coming down and that, oh my gosh, the houses, they're overvalued and all that kind of stuff. But the value of the dollar is way less. And if we're all willing to go out and spend $100 on a meal like it's nothing and think it's a great deal,
fucking
I don't
shit.
think
We
there's a
should have
better
thrown
example.
it back at
I
them.
don't think there's a better example of your money going, not as far, as it did a few years back. And so we all in our heads are all saying, oh my God, 800, oh my God, 900, oh my God, 1.2, it's crazy, it's crazy, it's crazy. But what you get for $1 million is much less today than it was 5 years ago.
Oh, and this is a wonderful point because it will get even worse because our dollar it's already kind of getting further apart from the US dollar now. And then, God, who knows what the hell's going to happen next? But yeah, if our dollar gets even worse, then, well, our real estate becomes even more attractive, though, to people hanging on to
but it
US
also causes
dollars.
more economic issues as well, right? So we've got to watch that
Well,
carefully.
exporting goes pretty good when
But if the
prices
bank
are
goes
down.
through a subprime mortgage crisis again,
What did
and
they
they
do
are
last
forced,
time? They
and
just
they are
papered
forced
over
to
it.
lower rates, it's going to help our dollar, which is going to help our imports, and
I'll be honest.
and it's going to help our economy.
I'll be honest with you, TK.
Yeah.
I am seriously praying
Yeah.
for this bank failure fiasco to force them to reduce rates sooner rather than later.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
I want
I
that
don't,
thing down, baby, for my renewal. And
yeah.
then they could do whatever the hell they want. Let's just bring it down a few points
Yeah.
first, please. Come on.
You're
What is this
yeah.
shit?
I,
I'm praying though. I'm
I'm
sitting here literally, honestly.
I'm not in the same group as you,
Yeah.
not because I don't want that to happen for your sake or anybody else's. I just think that we need to go through some more pressure before we can get to a better place. And I think
Yeah,
that
let's do
I
it
don't think the rates need to
later.
go up anymore. I think the amount of pain that's caused from the rates is more than enough. If
Oh,
you
they
just
could
leave
hold
rates
for
where
a
they
long
are,
time. Yeah.
there's a ton of people who are running out of money and can't make those payments anymore. So that'll be enough to be able to really clean up the bad debt. And the people who are making decisions, I want them to make better decisions. I want them to
It's
not
hard
go
to
into,
clean up bad debt while prices are going up again. No, because it's like, hey,
well,
let's
you know
just
what?
hang on
Then
and
you
let's
buy a
figure it out.
smaller house, Darryl. Okay. You move to the other
Don't tell
neighborhood
me,
that
bro.
you can afford.
Tell
I'm
my
just
wife.
saying,
Sure.
this is what it is. This is the problem. This is the
People don't want to
problem.
do this
It's
though.
not that they can't,
Don't
get the
want to
money
do
or
it.
something, is that they're making poor decisions on where they live. Like, you know how many times I've thought about buying a bigger house where I'm like, man, just for this much, the monthly payment will
The
be
monthly
X,
payment, right?
or the, you know, that I can just take money out of here and make, like, I just don't see the value, right, in doing that, you know, and I'm trying to live below my means. I'm really do try that. That is a very like
This is the new
honest
way.
statement.
Yeah, this is like
And
Great
I'm not as good
Depression
as it
like
as
stuff.
others, but the main thing is that you have to be really rewired to try to make sure that when the time comes and you're sitting there at 75 years old and you know you need help or you need special accommodations or whatever it is in your life, you're financially stable and that you haven't racked up a bunch of debt and caused a bunch of problems and you're sitting there going, man, that 60-year amortized mortgage that I got, you know, is almost paid off.
That was a good
Any day
idea.
now, I'm gonna quit my job and I won't have to make those payments anymore. But
I was
hey,
never ever until very recently able to live within my means. But it wasn't because I lowered my expenditures.
mm-hmm.
Right? I had to
Yeah,
constantly increase my income, right?
that helps too. If you have that ability, you can. You have
Well,
that ability.
I didn't have that ability the whole time.
I know, but I'm
It
saying
got
if
interesting.
and depending on your job type, then you have different like luxuries that you can afford to have, which is, you know, a wave of. But if you're on a fixed income and you got a job and you're working as a teacher and this is your income and you got your 2% a year or whatever it is, and you can foresee exactly how much money you're making, you need to be making better decisions so that you're not going to be paying off more mortgage than you think you can handle. Because I know you might be able to afford those payments today, but I don't really think that they are affordable.
But people aren't learning. Didn't you see? You got to get on Twitter. Like there's people lining up for pre-construction
Yeah.
house projects again.
Yeah.
Like there's people paying people to line up for them.
Oh, stupid.
Like what the hell?
Someone was actually talking to me this weekend about it, and they were talking
Right?
about,
It's like
yeah,
what the fucking
they
hell?
were going to,
In 1999, when I paid 286 including like a upgrade because I backed onto the park or something like that,
mm-hmm.
right? 286, and that was a stretch and a half. Now people, the decision is like, should I drop $1 million on this little fucking townhouse in
286 is the premium.
Pickering?
That's the premium, right?
286 was with the
Walkout
5 grand.
basement, pie-shaped lot on the ravine,
Not quite.
$286,000 premium.
Not quite. Yeah, the premium's 286.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the pie shop. Oh yeah, God.
Yeah.
I remember my father-in-law was like, get the bigger house, just spend an extra 50 grand. And I was like, are you fucking crazy? Like, this is the scariest thing I've ever done. I think like mortgage rates were 3.85. The house was 286, man. My wife had a bunch of money coming in. We probably had half in cash. Like this shouldn't have been so scary, but back then it was the scariest thing ever. I don't even know what I made back then. We're buying this fucking house and we're taking on a mortgage. And if I only listened, TK, 50 grand more got me like a big house with a pie shaped lot. And like when I sold, I would have made way more money. Way
Mhm.
more money. Not that I did like poorly or anything, but it
Mhm.
was crazy back then. Like every 2 years, if you were willing to move, you could make a lot of money if
Yeah.
the timing was right.
Yeah. That was my experience too.
If the timing was right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if in the middle you decide to build monster houses on 150% leverage, and borrow from like not the safest people on earth,
Mhm.
like doesn't matter what everybody else
Things
and
change
the
quick,
rest of the
right?
market does.
And
Yeah,
I
things
think that'll
change.
be the thing right now is how much how over leveraged are people right now, and those will be the people
We may
who
not
took it like.
find out though if the prices go up again. You don't understand
No,
how
no, they're over leveraged, and the people who
they
lent them the
won't get
money want their
hurt as
money, and
bad.
the rates are too high for them to sustain, and they have no option to refinance. So no, we're gonna find out,
But what happens
100%.
when prices go up? People want to buy again, and all of a sudden, all those people on the
No,
sidelines are
they
like,
they
"I'm
might
coming
they
in,
might be
baby.
able to
Here I come."
sell and lose less money, but the over leveraged people right now are the
Right?
ones who are all gonna get killed.
You
Yeah,
think? You
yeah.
don't think
The
this could?
over leverage. That's the people who are not as
I
over
want to
leveraged
know
and have or have like a little
where's
bit of
that
equity
line.
left. There's like a second mortgage guy who will come and save the day to get them through the next year. They have these little options left, but
If you're
when
where,
you're at
like,
like
what's over leveraged
85% loan to value or higher,
is considered over leveraged,
in my opinion. Yeah,
in your opinion.
yeah.
And what about the people that lend money? What about their opinion? What do they consider
65,
is
70.
over
Well,
leveraged?
it just depends on the lender, but the good private lender guys, yeah, they're going to probably be at 75 max because they know you lend it at
75,
75, it
yeah.
could be worth 5% less the next day. Now you're at your max 80, which you were at before. Could go down 10%. Now you're 85, you're uncomfortable. You don't
Oh,
want to be there.
so you got guys that were at like 80% of an inflated value, and
Yeah,
now,
and they went down to 100% loan to value
right?
in
No, and
6
now
months.
that now they're only
And
able
then
to get 65% of the new value. And it's
yeah,
like, what?
yeah.
Oh, that's a big nut to fucking
Exactly. And
come up with.
those are the guys. So those are the situations that are coming up right
Oh,
now on my plate that are all tough to deal with. And you
oh
see where the
God.
mistakes are. Like, it's not like it's like a mystery. It's not like how did we get here? It's like, well, here, this is how we got here. How do we fix it? Well, there's only so many options. And I will have
Oh,
to
you know
start
how we fix it? We
not
print
I
more money.
there are listings that I can't take. I'm not saying that there's a ton of those right now, but there's certain listings that they don't have a solution. There is no solution. They don't have the money to pay off the total amount of mortgage on the property. They're underwater, and the
So the
solution is
go
to
through the
get
process.
another job
Get
and to cut
another
back on your
job.
expenses, to cancel your subscription, subscribe to the Owl, the Wise Old Owl podcast, because Vince will
Hmm.
give you the straight goods on how to maintain your household budget and to ride the storm and to service that debt. What else are you gonna do?
What else are you going to do?
Can't
Well,
sell.
I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to watch my kid play hockey for
Awesome.
maybe the
Me too.
last time in
It's
a
the last
long
day
time.
today for my little guy, the 5-year-old, and he gets to do a
Well,
double
good
header.
luck. Good
And he
luck.
also said to me that he wants to play summer hockey. This is
That's
so amazing.
fantastic.
It feels
Summer
so warm
hockey.
inside. Yeah,
It looks like winter outside
his
still,
first
so
year, and
we're
he wants
still
to keep
good.
playing. Okay. Well,
Mr.
thank you for the
TK?
chat. If you're listening still and you haven't liked, commented, and subscribed, do it now. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any one of those other ones, drop a review. Tell us what you think. Even if you don't like us, I mean, why are you still listening to us at this point? But if you don't like us or you do like us, drop us a review. It really helps us get the message out there, and we
Yeah.
appreciate you guys. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Don't forget to subscribe. We forgot to ask people to subscribe at the start, TK.
Mm.
We forgot to mention the clips.
Oh yeah. If you don't like this long-winded conversation, again, why are you listening at the end of the hour if you didn't like it? But there's a Canadian real estate show clips where all the best parts of the show will be there without all the fluff, because we got a lot of fluff on the show.
What an
We're
extra,
full of
what an
fluff.
extra full of fluff.